This comes to us from the X Global Government Affairs account, and this one has been cooking lately. It says X submitted comments to the U.S. Trade Representative, the USTR investigation into Brazil's actions, policies, and practices that may unfairly burden U.S. commerce and U.S. social media platforms in particular. So now it's coming from Brazil. I feel like at this point, I feel like we've named every single country that's coming for America to get us to bend the knee to them. Uh, X's comments highlight serious concerns regarding the need for protection of free expression and fair enforcement in Brazil, impacting U.S. digital service providers and warranting scrutiny under Section 301. X has operated in Brazil since 2012. It is the home of one of our largest user bases, but recent court rulings are undermining MCI, which protected freedom of expression, privacy, and intermediary liability. Man, weird. Once again, how this is all happening at the same time. This time from Brazil. What the hell is going on? It's all coordinated, all coming at the same time. X outlined in our comments submitted to USTR that these new court decisions, which overrule significant aspects of the MCI, threaten freedom of expression as well as U.S. digital trade. X's comments to USTR argue that Brazilian courts are bypassing the U.S.-Brazil Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty, the MLAT, forcing legal subsidiaries to hand over data and communications, even from U.S. users, without diplomatic channels, and even if the contravenes U.S. law. In 2023, Brazil's Supreme Court upheld this, ignoring international norms and creating conflicts with U.S. laws. In June 2025, Brazil's Supreme Court, STF, ruled that Article 19 of the MCI, the country's internet governance law, is particularly unconstitutional, allowing social media platforms to be held liable for user content without judicial review. This hikes compliance costs, encourages over censorship, and endangers freedoms of expression, including for U.S. users. We've urged the USTR to examine these trade barriers, which, by the way, this is the big one here, encourages over censorship and endangers freedom of expression. Well, yeah, if one area is limiting the rules and the laws of something, the fear is that is eventually going to spread like a virus to other areas. Because if you're creating a platform that needs to adhere to one area, then it needs to be able to chat with the other areas. So it makes sense to make it all the same. That's the concern. Brazil's Superior Court of Justice has asserted global jurisdiction, ordering platforms like X to remove content worldwide, even if lawful elsewhere, such as the United States, which, yeah, good luck with that, Brazil. The court framed this as a natural consequence of the internet. Little bit of overreach, Brazil, wouldn't you say? Disregarding international law. This sets a dangerous precedent. X highlights the risk in our comments to the STR. Since 2020, Brazil's STF and Electoral Court, both under Justice Alexander de Moraes, have issued secret orders for X to remove users, such as politicians, journalists, and even some U.S. individuals. Yikes! These often involve full account suspensions without notice or appeals. X's appeals were dismissed, and non-compliance resulted in nationwide bans, frozen accounts, and seizure of $2 million from SpaceX Starlink, despite there being no legal basis or connection. That almost sounds like extortion using the law, Brazil. The cumulative effect has been a marked deterioration in the regulatory and judicial climate for digital services in Brazil, undermining both the rule of law and the stability necessary for cross-border trade and investment in the technology sector. Damn, this is Andre Marceliga. Brazil has become a global case study of censorship and authoritarian, that word, under the world spotlight. Author authoritarianism. Yeah, authoritarianism. It's a fucking big word, guys. All right, give me a break here. But it's true. Brazil is really setting a very poor standard for everything. And guess who quote tweets this? Preston Byrne, who is leading a lawsuit against the UK right now in Ofcom. He says X's corporate statements on global free speech are a lot more measured than my own. A downside of having foreign operations. Read between the lines, though, and it's very clear the company is going on offense for global freedom of speech more than anyone else in big tech. Oh, 100%, by the way. 100% that X is pushing forward to fight back. I don't see Facebook or Meta now, I guess, saying anything about this. I don't see any social media platforms saying or doing anything about this, which is curious. And I want to continue on Preston because Preston was going off today and in all the best ways. He said, I am getting phone calls from buddies in London, big law about 4chan. I suspect there are a lot of Americans who will want to replicate the playbook and are only just reading the case law and figuring it out for the first time now. So this is speaking to the 4chan situation because, again, like I said earlier, it's all happening at the same time. The UK going at 4chan. Now Brazil is going at like the entire internet. It's crazy what's happening right now. For context, I've been in the business of telling foreign governments where they can shove a censorship request for 8 years. This is very old hat for me. Difference between then and now is that then they only targeted 2 or 3 American companies. Now they're targeting them all. Coordinated. Funny, again, this I don't know for sure if the World Economic Forum is involved in this. But my goodness, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it certainly seems like the WEF has something to do with this, doesn't it? It's a little too convenient and coordinated otherwise. Funniest content takedown request I ever got was from the UK, though. The Met Police's CTIRU unit once tried to convince a conservative client that an account should be banned because the account hosted speech critical of Donald Trump and Theresa May. Oh, how we laughed. That's great. The reason I know this shit is for the last decade, almost nobody was willing to represent a free speech website. Polluters and white collar crooks, fine. Meanie words, problem. Oh my goodness, this strikes me as a former ex-Kotaku journalist that seems to be pushing a lawsuit against me in the United States, which again still blows my mind. The law isn't hard. They'll catch up. After that, OSA DSA enforcement will be nearly impossible. I add, in all my years of doing this, across hundreds of takedown requests from governments of all kinds, nuclear armed and otherwise, intergovernmental organizations, NGOs, you name it, their compulsory takedown success rate versus Americans is 0%. If there's anything to hang your hat on that you hear at all, it's that. That is so glorious. The core takeaway point is this. For US-based platform operators, the First Amendment and related case law means that a takedown demand from a foreign government is not an order. It's a non-binding request. The USA is the best place in the world to publish from, which, oh, by the way, how stupid these other countries are for what they're doing. All they're making people do is come to America and set up their businesses here. More money for us. Thank you. We will take that. You fucking idiots. To conclude this thread, Australia, Canada, Europe, we see you. Also, I guess, add Brazil to that now too. Or South America if you want. Don't try it. So shout out to Preston for banger coverage on the situation. And I guess we'll end it with this one because it's related to all of this censorship stuff with Cloudflare that I talked about the other day. Cloudflare said, follow the Cloud Force One account for the latest threat research, security advisories, and updates on the latest WAF updates. And Madam Savvy quote tweeted the Gilburo comment. Are you pulling support or censoring for websites based on the Online Safety Act in the UK? Yes or no? And screenshot Gilburo. So for whatever reason, Cloudflare has now disabled access to our domain when the proxy is enabled. This struck all our sites at once. I received no email from Cloudflare before this happened. We still have no idea what's going on. Happened for Denboro at the same moment. Interesting. What do we have here? Oh, the people that own it. Capital World Investors, Vanguard, BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, State Street. Man, big shock there. Good catch, Savvy. Good catch. But yeah, I guess all I wanted to do here, beyond just informing people of what's happening, is also shine a spotlight on it and get the voice heard and talk about it. Because the more people talking about this stuff, the more it puts pressure on these other governments to be like, there seems to be a lot of pushback. Maybe we should just back down because we're not going to win this fight. Because I can promise you, coming for a speech in America, you will lose that fight every time. And I will leave that one there.